Well, it really feels like we just ended another spoiler season, and yeah, we did, because Dominator United just ended spoiler season. Now we have started a brand new one that is kind of a continuation because we've seen other spoilers from it. But yeah, if you haven't seen my episode on, and please let me know in the comments below if I'm mispronouncing these names, and my apologies, but in quick takes, I'm bound to make mistakes. Marnius? Calgar? Let's go with that. Make sure you check that episode out at some point because this commander is way too powerful. But don't leave just yet because my goodness, I did not expect this type of commander. This came way out of nowhere, and it's a very exciting commander, so let's jump into it. After you blame Eddie in the comments below because Eddie helps out in these episodes, and yeah, if I make any mistakes, it's definitely Eddie's fault. It's never my fault. There's no way it could ever be my fault, so blame Eddie in the comments below. And now, let's jump into it. So, Magus Lucea Kane. No idea why I said it like that, but I did. Let's keep going. A 1/1 humid Tyrannid. Let's go with that wizard. That costs 1 green, blue, red. I am going to mess up so many times with these names. I'm so sorry. Anyways, spiritual leader. At the beginning of combat on your turn, play +1 counter on target creature. Which, okay, I mean, not terrible, but more importantly, psychic stimulus. Tap, add colorless. When you next cast a spell with X in its mana cost or activate an ability with X in its activation cost, this turn, copy that spell or ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. And of course, a copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. This commander is spicy. Okay, and not, for that, little counter that you can get on something. Yeah, that's cool. And there's some things that you can do with that. Like there's, some creatures that when they get a counter on them, you get a certain, trigger or whatnot. Sure. Okay, that's great. But more importantly, in more spicily, that's definitely a word. Spicily? No, definitely not a word. Anyways, you can double up on either spells that, have X in their mana cost or abilities even that have X in the activation. I definitely did not see this commander coming, and yeah, there's a lot of powerful things that you can do with this, and there's a lot of different directions that you can take this commander. I mean, I guarantee there's going to be a good amount of Hydra builds around this commander because, yeah, now every single time you cast a Hydra spell, cool, you get a copy of it. And yes, I know Zaxara is somewhat like that, but Zaxara actually just gives you like a 0/0 Hydra with counters on it. This one actually copies the actual creature, which is pretty spicy. Now, okay, sorry, I'm not trying to bash Zaxara with this. I'm just trying to say with the potential of this commander. Yeah, I mean, you can go in that direction with Hydras. You obviously can also, copy any other spells that have X their mana cost, which include, instant sorceries, enchantments, artifacts even. Planeswalker, I'm sure, out there, but I mean, that would just go away, right? Because legend rule. Regardless, on top of that, yeah, you can copy up those activated abilities too, and that has a lot of potential and even some broken potential. And yeah, you can blame Eddie for what I'm going to bring up here in a bit. But before I do that, a quick reminder that if you are interested in this commander, and yeah, this commander could definitely become a popular one quite quickly, make sure you check out the link in the description below for all the cards I'm talking about on this episode. And if you are considering building around this commander, consider picking up some of those cards sooner rather than later because, yeah, when new exciting commanders like this one are spoiled, sometimes cards that work well around them, well, tend to go up in price sooner rather than later. But now with that said, let's jump into the cards to consider. And again, blame Eddie for this one because, well, Eddie, the first thing that Eddie sent to me when I sent this commander was the combination of Magus of the Candelabra and Ashaya Soul of the Wild. And this, in combination with the commander, is an infinite combo. Okay, I need more coffee or less coffee, some combination of both. Magus of the Candelabra has an X activation. Look at that right there. X, tap, untap, X, target lands. So even without a combo piece, like Ashaya also on the battlefield, sure, you can just utilize your commander to tap for 2, add that into the X, and then tap this Magus, and then you can tap and untap 2 lands, well, twice. You can untap basically 4 lands if you want to. So that can definitely be valuable, but yeah, infinitely valuable when you combine it with the Shia Soul of the Wild, because the Shia says, well, power and toughness equal the number of lands you control. Don't really care about that. What we do care about is non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. Obviously, Magus the Candelabra and Magus your commander, I guess both of them are Maguses, right, apparently. Both of the Maguses, the Magusai, are now also going to be forests, which means that they are lands, and therefore, you can actually target them with Magus's activation. So, tap your commander for 2, put that into the X, tap Magus, double that trigger up, untap X target lands, which are going to be, well, Magus and your commander, which again are lands, and then also 2 actual lands. So you just basically just keep untapping that again and again and again, infinite mana, have fun, plenty of ways to win from there. And again, right now, please, in the comments below, hashtag blame Eddie for this one. Moving on though, yeah, outside of just doubling up activations and, doing some really broken things with that, I mean, just consider some very powerful X spells that, can be doubled with your commander, which is a very easy way to get a ton of fantastic value. I mean, let's talk about cards like Finale of Devastation, Finale of Revelation, and, okay, not a finale, but Animus Awakening. Devastation says search library and or graveyard for a creature card with converted mana cost, X or less put on the battlefield. If you search library this way, shuffle it. If X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X and gain haste until end of turn. So, I mean, obviously, you probably only want to consider this card if you actually have any creatures in your deck, like, Magus, that actually, don't have X in their cost. Because if you are getting an X-costed creature that, just might come into play with 0 counters on it, that might not be a good thing. That being said, yeah, a creature tutor that also can just be a game-ending way to pump your creatures and make them massive. And again, this is doubled with your commander. Yeah, that has a lot of potential. Speaking of potential, Finale of Revelation says, draw X cards if X is 10 or more. Instead, shuffle your graveyard in your library, draw X cards, untap into 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile Finale of Revelation. So, I mean, draw double X cards, draw 2 times X cards, and again, if X is 10 or more, you also get to shuffle everything back into your library and untap 10 lands in total. And you've got double no maximum hand size for the rest of the game, which obviously does not matter, just no maximum hand size, but still. Doubling up X spells, especially powerful ones like these, of course, can be incredibly valuable throughout the game. I mean, just think about how you can skyrocket past your opponents quite easily just by casting an Animus Awakening with your commander. Reveal the top X cards of your library, put all land cards from them on the battlefield, tap the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order, and if you've got Spell Mastery, if there are 2 more instant sorcery cards in your graveyard, you untap those lands. Obviously, it's a very easy requirement to meet, and yeah, I mean, if you put a decent amount into that X, and you're doubling this and getting this twice, you can get a ton of lands off the top of your library into play, and then, potentially untapped as well, so you basically can just, ramp yourself and have more mana than you actually had previously before even casting this spell. So yeah, a card like this can lead to some really explosive turns, on top of just getting you way, way, way ahead of your opponents. Who knew doubling up on spells could be such a powerful thing? And also, when it comes to X spells that are kind of like double X spells, like, Wildest Dreams, XX in a green, return X target cards from your graveyard to your hand, exile Wildest Dreams, it basically, I mean, just makes it, twice as efficient, obviously. I mean, it does that for all of these. But Wildest Dreams, obviously, again, that double X, it's kind of like it only has a single X then, because now, again, if you pay, let's say 7 mana in total, while utilizing your commander's mana that you tap for, obviously, that's going to be, what, 3 into each of those X's? So normally that would be getting back 3 cards, which is nice, but now you're going to be getting back 6. Which, of course, is a lot more efficient. I mean, this is already a great card, and now this is an excellent card when you double it up. I mean, 7 mana for 6 cards back. Yeah, sign me up for that. You can also sign me up for some double clone action with Altered Ego, a 0/0 shapeshifter for X, 2, green, blue. Can't be countered. It says you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it enters with X additional counters on it. So, what is the scariest, most disgusting thing on the battlefield? Maybe it's one of your things, maybe it's an opponent's creature. Now you can just get 2 copies of it just by, casting this with your commander because it's got an X in its cost. And again, in judges, please correct me below in the comments if I'm wrong on this one, but I believe with the way this commander is worded, it doesn't even matter if you actually put any mana into that X for this one. It's just like, okay, if you just paid 4 mana in total for this, 2 green, blue, you're still getting that trigger because there is still X in the mana cost of the card. So you can be hyper efficient with these kind of things. Again, 2 clones for 4 mana. Yeah, that can be very, very spicy. Now, as I mentioned before, of course, Hydras are definitely some kinds of creatures that you're going to want to consider as well. I mean, they're all about X in their mana cost, or at least many of them are. Genesis Hydra, Hooded Hydra, and Steelbane Hydra, just to name a few. Genesis Hydra says, when you cast this spell, reveal the top X card of your library, you may put a non-land permanent card with mana value X less among it onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of your library, enters with X counters on it. Now, something to keep in mind, especially with these that have cast triggers. You are not getting that cast trigger a second time because yes, you are copying the spell, but you are not casting the copy. It's just copied. So the first Genesis Hydra trigger you will have, from the actual one, you're not going to get a second one, but still, you get twice the amount of Hydras. You get, 2 giant Hydras into play on top of, that card that you're getting off the top. So it can still be a great card in the deck, but again, just keep that in mind. Regardless, one that doesn't really care about cast triggers, Hooded Hydra says, enters the battlefield X counters on it. When it dies, you get a 1/1 green snake creature token for each counter on it. So get 2 massive Hooded Hydras in play. When they die, you get twice as many snakes, and yeah, you can flood the board pretty quickly with that. When it comes to a different kind of value, though, let's talk about Steelbane Hydra. Comes into play with X counters on it, like, all these other Hydras, but it also has pay 2 and a green, remove a counter from Steelbane Hydra, destroy a target artifact or enchantment. So yeah, getting 2 copies of this can be a great way to essentially say, all right, opponents, all your artifacts and enchantments, you better look out, because I'm going to be taking them out whenever I feel like it. Or at least when I have the mana to do so, with my double Steelbane Hydras. So yeah, of course, you can make some massive threats. Double the massive threats, and again, double the massive abilities. And speaking of massive abilities, well, of course, there are other kinds of creatures that you might want to consider as well that have lovely X mana abilities, or should I say abilities that have X in their activation, you know what I mean, that can really benefit from your commander doubling them up, like Alexi Zephyr Mage and Nin the Pain Artist. Alexi has pay X and blue, tap, discard 2 cards from your hand, return X target creatures to their owner's hands. So this can already be a great way to bounce a lot of creatures, and again, in combination with this commander, you're going to be bouncing twice as many creatures, just for the cost, again, of 2 cards that you're discarding. You don't have to double that up, because that's part of the actual activation cost, so you only have to discard 2 cards to bounce, well, a ton of creatures, probably your entire opponent's boards at a certain point. Or how about Nin the Pain Artist, which is an incredible card with this commander. Pay X, blue, red, tap. It's going to deal X damage to our creature. That creature's controller draws X cards. Again, with this deck, we're going to have some pretty massive creatures. So, yeah, they can take a good amount of pain from Nin the Pain Artist, and you can draw a ton of cards while still keeping them in play. And obviously, you can double this up to just do it twice, which is fantastic. So your Hydra and the Hydra copy of the Hydra both can just take a hit for you so that you can draw a ton of cards, and they can probably stay in play. Or how about a card like War Cadence, which can help get your creatures through, pay X and a red. This turn, creatures can't block unless the controller pays X for each blocking creature they control. So this can be twice as efficient, essentially. Again, if your opponents can't pay a certain amount, well, you just pay, basically half that, because you only have to pay half of that into it because it's going to be doubled. Moving on, how about Vivian's Arcbow? Now, this one, again, is kind of one of those, well, make sure that you have enough creatures in your deck that aren't just, X mana creatures, but still, regardless, pay X, tap, discard a card, look at the top X cards of your library, may put a creature card with converted mana cost X less from among there onto the battlefield, the rest buying your library in random order. Basically, at the cost, again, of that X and discarding only a single card, you get to get 2 things off the top of your library for free into play. Or, if you really wanted to build a Helix Pinnacle deck like Eddie did, well, and with a different commander though this time, this could be the commander for it. It's an enchantment that has Shroud, and it has pay X, put X tower counters on Helix Pinnacle. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 100 or more tower counters on it, you win the game. So this can be a really spicy win condition that can be hard to stop, and yeah, you can get there twice as fast with this commander because you can double up on that X. So I can definitely see some players going in that direction as well. Finally though, how about even just a land with Treasure Vault, which is already a fantastic card. Tap for a colorless or pay XX, tap, sacrifice it, create X treasure tokens. Yeah, we can double that up as well to make a massive amount of treasure tokens. Again, kind of like that Wildest Dreams example where, it's a double X spell and let's say double X activated ability. We're essentially, just taking it down to a single X. So thanks to our commander, essentially, as much mana as we put into this, we are getting that many treasure tokens out of it, and that can be a massive boost that can really put us way ahead of our opponents. And again, this is just coming on a land, something that really doesn't even take up a slot in this deck. Next up, let's quickly talk about some other, X cards that can be great, or, maybe I should say cards that like X cards with Unbound Flourishing and Elementalist's Palette. Unbound Flourishing is actually very similar to our commander in some ways. Whenever you cast a spell with a mana cost that contains X, double the value of X. And whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell or activate an ability, if that spell's mana cost or ability's activation cost costs X, copy that spell or ability and choose targets for the copy. So this can also double up certain things, again, instant sorceries and abilities that have X. And then also on top of that, this basically just doubles up our X value, which of course works incredibly with a lot of things that we've already talked about, especially when we're also doubling up things again with our commander. So yeah, this card is a shoo-in for the deck if you've got the budget for it. A much more budget-friendly card, though, is Elemental's Palette. Whenever you cast a spell that X and its mana cost, but 2 charge counters on Elemental's Palette, tap add 1 mana of any color, or tap add colorless free charge counter on Elemental's Palette. Spend this mana only on costs that contain X. So this is a mana rock that might not start off being all that efficient, but again, in a deck like this, we're going to be running a ton of X spells. Well, we can get a ton of charge counters on this and then make the most of them. And speaking of making the most of things, well, we can make the most out of our commander's ability by being able to untap her to tap her again. So how about 1,000-Year Elixir, a fantastic card for this commander. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. Obviously, this can benefit our commander, or again, something like, Magus of the Candelabra. Regardless, pay 1 tap, untap target creature. So yeah, both of these parts really, really, really help our commander activate right away and be able to activate a second time in a turn. Even something as simple as Curious Follower can be great as well. Tap, untap, and no target permanent. Yeah, any of these kind of, creatures or, permanents that can untap, a permanent or a creature are going to work very well with this commander. Or, if you really just want to break things, how about Intruder Alarm? Creatures don't untap to their controllers, untap steps whenever a creature comes into play. Untap all creatures. So every single time you cast, a creature, again, that has X on its cost, like, your Hydras, cool. All right, we get, another copy of it. So we get 1 creature coming into play. Trigger, untap commander, tap again. Second creature coming into play, cool, untap trigger, tap again. So yeah, this can definitely help throughout the game a ton. And obviously there's some combos that work well with that too, but yeah. Now this episode is coming to a close though, it's time for me to give you my final thoughts on Magus Lucea Kane. I definitely did not expect a commander like this. I mean, X mana tribal with doubling, not only on, the actual spells themselves, which includes, anything, instant sorceries, creatures, enchantments, artifacts even, or doubling up on activations too, which obviously can lead to some very spicy, very powerful, and even some very broken things as well. I mean, again, blame Eddie for, the Magus of the Candelabra, Ashaya combination. Please blame Eddie right now. Thank you. But again, if you are interested in this commander, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below because, yeah, I mean, when a new exciting commander like this one is spoiled, cards that might work well with it tend to go up in price sooner rather than later. So make sure you pick up some cards if you are interested in building around this exciting commander. And of course, also make sure you stay tuned to this channel for even more exciting quick takes and spoilers coming up. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support.